You're not marriage material, babe. You know that, right? The words hung in the air between us like a grenade with the pin already pulled. My girlfriend Melissa was laughing when she said it. Actually laughing. Her wine glass tilted precariously as she gestured to her friends, who all wore varying degrees of uncomfortable smiles. I set down my beer bottle very carefully on the kitchen counter. You're absolutely right, I said, my voice calm. I'm not. For you. The laughter died in her throat. I was 31, had been with Melissa for 3 years, and we were at her friend Hannah's dinner party. The kind where couples drink too much wine and pretend their relationships are better than they are. I'd arrived late from work, still in my button-down and slacks, to find Melissa already 2 glasses deep and holding court. Wait, what? Melissa's smile faltered. I agree with you completely, I said, grabbing my jacket from the back of the chair. I'm clearly not what you're looking for in a husband. Oh my God, don't be so sensitive. I was joking. Were you, though? The room had gone silent. Hannah's husband David was suddenly very interested in his plate. Another couple, Britt and Tom, exchanged glances. It's just, we've been together 3 years, and you haven't even brought up marriage, Melissa said, her tone shifting to defensive. What am I supposed to think? I could have explained right then. Could have told her about the ring I'd been designing with a jeweler for the past 2 months. The reservation I'd made at the restaurant where we had our first date, scheduled for next weekend. The speech I'd been rehearsing in my car during my commute. Instead, I smiled. You're supposed to think exactly what you just said. I'm not marriage material. Have a good night, Melissa. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car. I silenced it. By the time I got to my apartment, I had 17 missed calls and a novel's worth of text messages. You're being ridiculous. Come back so we can talk like adults. I said I was joking. You're really going to throw away 3 years over this? I poured myself a scotch and sat in my living room in the dark. The ring box was in my nightstand drawer. I'd picked it up just that morning, finally ready after weeks of modifications. Princess cut diamond, platinum band, small emeralds on the sides because they were her favorite. $2 grand I'd never see again. I pulled up the jeweler's contact and sent a message asking about their return policy. Then I blocked Melissa's number. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Not because I was heartbroken. I wasn't, not really. I was angry. 3 years of my life, and she'd never once considered that maybe I had a plan. That maybe I was building towards something. She'd just assumed I was comfortable floating along, never committing, never thinking about the future. My best friend Connor showed up around noon with coffee and bagels. Hannah called Jess, he said, referring to his wife. Said you just walked out. Melissa's losing her mind. Good. Bro. Connor sat down across from me. Talk to me. What happened? I told him everything. The comment, my response, the ring, all of it. Connor was quiet for a long moment. You were going to propose next weekend. Was being the key word. And you didn't tell her that because? Because she humiliated me in front of her friends, I said. She made a joke about me not being husband material. In what world do I reward that by saying, actually, funny story, I've been planning to propose? So she can what? Feel validated? Feel like she pushed me into it. Connor nodded slowly. Fair point. If she doesn't think I'm marriage material, then I'm not going to try to convince her otherwise. I'm just going to agree and move on. Cold, man. Ice cold. Is it? She told me who I am to her. I'm just accepting it. Over the next week, the messages continued, but they weren't from Melissa. They came from her friends, from mutual acquaintances, even from her mother, who I'd always gotten along with. Hannah, she didn't mean it that way. You know how she gets when she drinks. Melissa's mom, please call her. She's devastated. Britt, this is so stupid. Just talk to her. I responded to exactly none of them. What they didn't understand, what Melissa didn't understand, was that the comment itself wasn't the problem. It was what the comment revealed. After 3 years, she didn't trust that I had a plan. Didn't trust that I was working toward our future. She saw me as someone who needed to be pushed, prodded, publicly shamed into commitment. That wasn't a foundation for a marriage. That was a foundation for resentment. 2 weeks after the dinner party, Connor invited me to a barbecue at his place. I almost said no, but Jess had been good to me over the years, and I didn't want to punish them for Melissa's mess. Big mistake. I walked into their backyard, and there she was. Melissa, sitting at the patio table with Jess, red-eyed and holding a tissue. Are you kidding me? I looked at Connor. He held up his hands. Jess invited her. I didn't know until an hour ago. You could have texted. Would you have come? No. Exactly. I turned to leave, but Melissa was already standing. Please. Just 5 minutes. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. Her voice cracked. I screwed up. I know I screwed up. I was drunk and stupid, and I didn't mean it. You did mean it, I said quietly. That's the thing, Mel. Drunk words are sober thoughts. You actually believe I'm not marriage material. And you know what? You're right. For you, I'm not. That's not. She was crying now. I didn't think you were serious about us. You never talked about the future. You never brought up marriage or kids, or... I never brought it up because I was planning it, I said. I was 2 weeks away from proposing to you. The ring is sitting in my apartment right now because the jeweler won't take it back. The blood drained from her face. Jess gasped. Connor closed his eyes. You what? Princess cut diamond. Platinum band. Emeralds on the side. I had a reservation at Marcello's for next Saturday. I was going to propose where we had our first date. I kept my voice level. Clinical. But clearly, I misread the situation. You don't think I'm the marrying type. So let's not waste any more of each other's time. No, no, no. Melissa was full-on sobbing now. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know? You weren't. That's how proposals work, Mel. They're surprises. But you couldn't trust the process. Couldn't trust me. And that tells me everything I need to know about what our marriage would have looked like. I left before she could respond. The next month was rough. Not because I missed Melissa. I didn't, not really. I missed the idea of what I thought we had. Missed the future I'd been planning. But I didn't miss her specifically, which told me I'd made the right call. I threw myself into work. Picked up extra projects. Started going to the gym at 5 a.m. Anything to keep busy. Connor checked in regularly. You doing okay? Yeah. Surprisingly okay. Melissa's not. Not my problem. She asked Jess if there was any chance. There isn't. He sighed. You're really done. I'm really done. What I didn't tell Connor was that I'd started seeing things differently. Looking back at the relationship with clear eyes for the first time in months. How Melissa always needed validation from her friends. How she compared our relationship to everyone else's constantly. How she dropped little comments about other couples getting engaged, getting married, buying houses. She'd been trying to manipulate me into proposing through social pressure and guilt. And when that hadn't worked fast enough, she'd tried public humiliation. The irony was, I'd already been planning it. She'd been so focused on forcing my hand that she never noticed I was already reaching for the ring. 3 months after the dinner party, I was at a coffee shop near my office when I ran into Hannah. Hey, she said awkwardly. Hannah, can we talk? Just for a second. I gestured to the empty chair across from me. She sat down, fidgeting with her cup. Melissa's in therapy. Good for her. She's really struggling with what happened. Hannah, I'm going to stop you right there, I said. I know you're trying to help your friend, but this isn't something you can fix. Melissa made a choice at your dinner party. She chose to publicly humiliate me to get a laugh from her friends. I made a choice to walk away. Those are the consequences. She didn't know you were going to propose. She didn't trust that I had a plan. That's the issue. After 3 years, she didn't trust me. I leaned back in my chair. What kind of marriage starts with that little faith? Hannah was quiet for a moment. She said you were right. In therapy, she said you were right about everything. Therapy is for her to figure herself out, not for her to figure out how to get me back. I know. Hannah looked miserable. I just thought you should know she understands now. What she did. Why you left. Okay. Is there any chance? No. Hannah nodded and stood up. For what it's worth, I think she really loved you. Maybe she did, I said. But love without trust is just codependency. I'm looking for more than that. 6 months after the breakup, I was on a dating app. Not because I was desperate to meet someone, but because I was finally ready to start looking forward instead of backward. Her name was Nicole. She was 29, worked in marketing, had a dog named Biscuit. We matched on a Tuesday and met for coffee that Saturday. So what's your story? She asked after we'd exchanged the usual pleasantries. My story? Yeah. Single guy, 31, good job, seemingly normal. What's the catch? I laughed. Is there always a catch? In my experience? Usually. Fair enough. I considered how much to share. I got out of a long-term relationship about 6 months ago. She didn't think I was marriage material. Turns out she was right. Nicole raised an eyebrow. That's a very diplomatic way of saying it ended badly. It ended necessarily. Ooh, I like that. Ended necessarily. I'm stealing that from my ex. We talked for 3 hours. Then we went to dinner. Then we walked around the park until it got dark. It was the easiest first date I'd ever had. Can I see you again? I asked when I walked her to her car. I think you better, she said. 3 dates in, Nicole asked me the question I'd been dreading. What really happened with your ex? We were at her apartment, splitting a bottle of wine on her couch. Biscuit was asleep between us. I told her everything. The dinner party, the ring, walking out, all of it. Nicole was quiet when I finished. You think I'm an asshole, I said. No. I think you have self-respect. She sipped her wine. My ex used to pull that same stuff. Drop little comments about commitment in front of his friends. Make jokes about how I was high maintenance or hard to please. Little digs designed to make me prove myself. Did you? For way too long. Until I realized that someone who actually wants to marry you doesn't need to be convinced. They just do it. Exactly. So when you were actually planning to propose, and she was still making those comments, it told me she didn't want me to propose because she loved me and wanted to build a life together. She wanted me to propose to prove something to her friends, to validate her, to win a game I didn't know we were playing. Nicole nodded. That's not a partnership. That's a performance. I'd been seeing Nicole for about 2 months when I ran into Melissa at a grocery store. She looked different, thinner, tired. Her hair was shorter. Hi, she said quietly. Melissa, how are you? Good. You? I'm better. Therapy's helping. She clutched her shopping basket. I heard you're seeing someone. Small town. Big mouths. Yeah. Is it serious? It's early, but it's good. She nodded, eyes getting wet. I'm glad you're happy. Thanks. I know this doesn't change anything, but I'm sorry. For what I said. For how I treated you. You deserved better. Yeah, I said simply. I did. If I could go back. You can't. None of us can. I softened my voice. But you can do better going forward. With whoever's next. There isn't going to be a next. Not for a long time. That's probably smart. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Take care of yourself, Mel. You too. I walked away feeling lighter than I had in months. That night, I told Nicole about running into Melissa. How did it feel, she asked. Honestly, nothing. No anger, no regret, no what-ifs. Just nothing. That's when you know you made the right choice. Yeah. Nicole was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Do you still have the ring? I did. I'd never gone back to the jeweler, never figured out what to do with it. It was still in my nightstand drawer, an expensive reminder of a future that never happened. I do. Are you going to sell it? Probably should. Or, Nicole said carefully, you could save it. For when you meet someone who actually is marriage material. I looked at her. Is that right? I'm just saying. Seems like a shame to waste a perfectly good ring on the wrong person when the right person might come along eventually. Eventually, huh? She smiled. Eventually. We'd been dating for 8 months when I proposed to Nicole. Not with Melissa's ring. I'd sold that and donated the money to a women's shelter. This ring was different. Modern. Unique. A sapphire center stone because Nicole had mentioned once that diamonds felt cliché. I proposed at her apartment, just the two of us and Biscuit. No fancy restaurant. No audience. No performance. Just two people who'd found each other after learning the hard way what they didn't want. She said yes before I even finished asking. That was the easiest decision I've ever made, she said, kissing me. No doubts. Not a single one. You're absolutely marriage material. Just not for people who can't appreciate you. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, close friends and family only. Connor was my best man. Jess was crying before we even started. Melissa wasn't invited, obviously, but I heard through the grapevine that she'd started dating someone new. A lawyer. Very successful. Proposed after 4 months. Fast, Connor said when he told me. Good for her. You really don't care? I really don't. She wanted someone who'd be pressured into marriage. She found him. I wanted someone who'd choose marriage with me freely. I found her. Everybody wins. The last time I thought about that night at Hannah's dinner party was on my wedding night. Nicole and I were in our hotel room, exhausted and happy, still in our wedding clothes. What are you thinking about? She asked. How grateful I am that Melissa said what she said. Really. If she hadn't shown me who she was that night, I might have proposed. We might have gotten married. And I would have spent the rest of my life with someone who didn't trust me, didn't respect me, and only wanted me for what I represented to her friends. Instead, you got stuck with me. Instead, I got lucky with you. I pulled her close. You never once doubted me. Never once tried to manipulate me into commitment. You just loved me and trusted that I loved you back. Because you made it easy to trust you. So did you. That's the thing they don't tell you about walking away from relationships that aren't right. It's not just about having self-respect in the moment. It's about making space for something better to come along. Melissa needed someone to perform for her friends, to prove his worth, to be shaped into her ideal husband. I needed someone who saw me as I was and said, yes, that's exactly what I want. The night I walked out of that dinner party, I lost a 3-year relationship, but I gained the rest of my life. And honestly, best trade I ever made. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is agree with someone who doesn't value you. Let them think they've won, and then walk away and build something better. Melissa taught me I wasn't marriage material. Nicole taught me I was. The difference was, one of them was trying to change me, and the other was just trying to love me. I know which lesson I'm keeping.